Fame is an illusion, art is reality. Many are willing to sacrifice and surrender and sell what they do not own at all in order to exchange that for what they deem as something of a familiar and necessary element to be acquired in their life, and that is the illusion of fame, because these are malignant narcissists. These are sociopaths. These are individuals who are materialistic, superficial, narcissistic, consumerism, commercialism. These are empty vessels. That's why if you look into the eyes of all of these quote-unquote celebrities, there's a sadness in their eyes. There's an emptiness. There's a hollowness. Devoid of light, love, magic, and peace, because once they pass through the doorway to fame, they realize how the system really works. And they realize that the sacrifice they made was too great. But now, once they're in for life, because it is a mafia. It is a mob. The individuals that control the system, media, the public network, social domain, Hollywood, the music industry, television, arts and entertainment, video games, all of these things. It's the same cult. That they will not allow you to pass through their doorway to acquire your fame unless you are willing to make the exchange and sign the contract. Because they know once you're in for life. There is no going back. Because they don't want anybody running around as a rogue entity that has that much fame and power and notoriety and public recognition. Like, let's say, we'll use John Lennon as an example. This was an individual that was assassinated as a Manchurian candidate because when he was with the Beatles, he was in that cult. But somewhere along the way, he realized he didn't want to have anything to do with this anymore. And then he broke away from that. And that's when the crosshairs were on his forehead, because the CIA had a dossier on him inches thick. And eventually it caught up to him, because he did sign that contract and surrender the very embodiment and the purity of whatever message he wanted to carry to the world in exchange for the sacrifice of his life. But he didn't realize it was going to come so soon and in such a violent manner. That's why his soul is still lingering the earth, very angry and very upset. This is how they all are. They think before they become famous that it's this mystical thing. It's this amazing life that only the few get to live. Carefree. Your world is showered with millions of dollars and gigantic houses that you could see from space and fleets of cars, and everything is given to you. You have all the money in the world, all the women in the world, all the fame and notoriety. You get all of your food and your meals for free. It's such a glorious, glorious life. That is the grand mirage, the great illusion. Because they don't realize before they become rich and famous, they still have the opportunity to turn back. But because they're narcissistic and they're superficial and they're materialistic and they're empty, hollow, shallow vessels without any semblance of forethought, just an unmitigated ambulation, they head right for that door and pass through it without even blinking an eye. But once they realize that they're beyond that door, it isn't what they thought it was going to be. And then once you're in, because you're going to see things that they will not allow you to disclose to the public. And that is the greatest tragedy, because once they pass through that door, they can never go back the other way, and they know it. Because the individuals who run this system know full well that if you gain notoriety and you have millions and millions and millions of fans and followers who are going to hinge on every word you speak, that is a power unto itself that they cannot allow unleashed to the public. Because if you start using that power, that notoriety, and that fame against them, meaning that if you start professing the truth to enlighten and bring awareness to the masses, then you are a threat to their system. That's why they will not allow anyone to attain those levels of height and notoriety without being in their cult. And that is the truth of this system that they created. Now, when Jesus Christ walked the earth, and he has walked the earth many times, and no, Christ was not born on earth. The birth of Christ is the conception and the inception of love. Christ is love. Christ's consciousness is the purity of unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, unconditional kindness. Jesus was not born on earth of a virgin birth. He wasn't born in the pages of the Bible. He did not wander the desert for 40 days, picking up guys by the name of Peter, Paul, John, George, Thomas. It's nonsense. Come on, folks, you got to snap out of it. Can he walk on water? Absolutely. Can he heal people who are, gravely and terminally ill? Absolutely. Can he revive the dead? Only if God allows. And Jesus Christ is not God. He never has been. He never will be. He's not the only Son of God. I am the Son of God. Every male of every species is the Son of God. God did not write the Bible. Man did. God doesn't speak to you through words that are written on pages. God speaks with you through your heart every single moment of your life. Once you sacrifice yourself to the illusionary universe of the Matrix, it cannot be undone. Because if you attain the level of heights, fame, and notoriety that John Lennon did or Bob Marley did, they're not going to just let you walk away. It doesn't work like that. Because both men were assassinated. It doesn't matter what anybody tells you. See, in Bob's case, he knew how to manipulate things. Not in a bad way, but he knew that he had to carry his message to the world. And he knew that the only way to do that was to pass through their doors. So in doing so, he knew he had to sacrifice something. Something had to be left behind. Something had to be lost forever in order to carry the message. And when he passed through the doors, it wasn't that he was an advocate for the darkness. He just knew that he had to utilize it in order to get that message through on a global platform. And he did. Bob's heart never lost its purity or its essence. He was the very embodiment of truth. Whatever that truth to him was, and still is. But once you pass through the doors, you are now in for life. And therefore, they're not going to let you just walk away. So that's why he was taken out too. Because an artist is worth more dead than alive. Elvis, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, Bruce Lee, on and on and on. They were all a part of it. To some extent or another, whether it's a willing, voluntary connection, or once they realize how it works and they try to get out. That's why they wind up as a suicide. Come on, folks. You gotta wake up. Kurt Cobain, Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington. And that's not suicide. Anywho, that's another video. But you can't sell something you don't own. Your soul is not yours. Your talents and ability are not yours. There's nothing that is given to you. It's gifted to you. And it can be taken away just like that. Trust me. If you do not appreciate what you have, you will be humbled to your soul by having it removed. And God can remove it in a heartbeat. I've had it happen to me before, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking out of my rear end. Trust me. So before you make that plan to be rich and famous and be, a celebrity, a dignitary, a luminary, somebody of prominence in society, just know that that's all an illusion. Art is reality. Fame is an illusion. So utilize the powers of your soul to express yourself, not to try to impress others. Don't operate from the ego, because ego is arrogance. Humility is the soul. Death of self is the birth of your soul. You must bury the fool in order to give birth to the wise. It's not worth the sacrifice because it's not real. Look at all of these quote-unquote celebrities. Look at their eyes. They're dead. They're lifeless. They're meaningless. They're empty. They're sad because they realize that the sacrifice that they made was too great, and then they can't go back. And that's the truth. So you don't need celebrity. It's an illusion. That's how they keep you in their labyrinth of lies. Their maze that never ends. These endless halls, doorways, corridors that just lead you nowhere. You can smell the cheese, but you'll never see the cheese, because that is the greatest illusion. That's how they keep you going, like a rat in a maze. They place these unrealistic expectations upon you. You must keep up with the Joneses. If you don't have a gigantic house and a fleet of cars and millions of dollars, then you're a loser, you're a bum, you're nobody, you're nothing, you're a failure. And that's how they work it. So that causes you, because you don't meet those unrealistic expectations, to be depressed. And that depression lowers your vibration and it feeds into the matrix. And then you get sick with stress. And stress induces tangible physical ailments that require medical attention. And of course, here we go with the pharmaceutical industry. You start feeding yourself pills and you get even sicker and blocking your connection to the divine. They have been decimating the South American rainforests for decades at an alarming rate, simply because all of the world's cures are found there in their natural, pure, side effect free form that God gave us. So what the pharmaceutical industry does is they go to that source, they synthesize it in pill form, and with their scientifically triggered side effects, which require, of course, more pills, and then they take the natural source, which is the rainforest, and they remove it. So therefore, you do not have access to what is natural and free and given to us by God. Look at graviola. It's a fruit that was banned from entering this country for 20 years. It cures many cancers, and they did not allow it in this country. They don't want you to have the natural side effect free cures that God gave you, because they want to offer you their poison in pill form to keep you sicker forever, so they can profit off of that sickness and your inevitable death. Everything the Matrix is an illusion. Starting with religion. Religion is the nucleus. Politics, science. Then you move on, you branch out into the education system, the military-industrial complex, the telecommunications industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and on and on and on. You know, media, arts, and entertainment, that industry. It's all tied in to the same cult. And they just want to keep you lied to, blinded, sick, morbidly obese, and dumbed down. And that's the end game, until you're given that final breath. And then you pass away with regrets because you didn't check things off your bucket list, because they placed far too high of these unrealistic expectations on you. Every year, your pay goes down, but the price of everything else goes up. It's what they call the cost of living increase. This is all artificially induced volatility. It doesn't affect them. There's two separate distinct systems, one for us and one for them. And the one they designed for them always benefits them. The one they designed for us is always a detriment and a liability. And that's the way it has been, that's the way it is right now, and that's the way it shall always remain, unless humanity as a whole rises up and puts an end to this insanity once and for all. But remember, art is illusion, art is reality, fame is an illusion. Their art is an illusion, because their art is their fame. But real art is just you expressing yourself however you deem that fit to be. That is reality. Only by exiting their illusions shall you begin to enter your own reality. Because when their lies become your truth, their illusions are your reality until you wake up. And you have to wake up, or else you're going to be forever asleep. You know, just drifting aimlessly through this life as just a faceless, nameless number. And that is the truth. God bless.